Hi, my name is Kim Alvin DeLara. So I would like to share to you the lesson plan that we created from the research experience that we attended. Warren, Beth, Mrs. Leslie, and I created this lesson plan on exploring prosthetics and AI inspired by Ross the Wild Robot. So it can be taught to fifth grade students or middle school students, 6 to 8 students. The subject areas is STEM, so it can be computer science, ELA, and science. So before that, I would like to share to you uh, my mentor, Dr. Javier Garcia, who I worked with for 4 weeks in San Francisco. He's the branch and neuroscience. He's a chief branch and neuroscientist in U.S. DevCom Army Research Laboratory based in San Francisco in Palo Alto. So I worked with him in the past 4 weeks, and he inspired me to create a lesson plan that is AI because his research focused on human AI or human artificial intelligence. So the STEM careers that can be connected on this are there are all of this in the slide: robotics engineer, AI research scientist, but you can also um, think of other STEM careers that you can um, share to your students that can be connected in this lesson plan. So the lesson plan revolves around the story of the wild robot, Ross. Her name is Ross. So a robot initially unfamiliar with the natural world adapts and learns from her surroundings. After losing a foot in a dangerous encounter, she celebrates with the beavers who help her create a prosthetic foot. This adaptation parallels the concept of prosthetic limbs, where individuals with limb differences use technological aids to mimic natural abilities. So Ross begins to adapt and learn from her surroundings. She creates tools and finds ways to navigate challenges such as rough terrain and extreme weather. This adaptation mirrors the concept of prosthetic hands, where individuals with limb differences adapt to their environments through technological aids that mimic natural abilities. So from the book of The Wild Robot, we created a 5E lesson plan, and we used the engineering design process where students will work on designing and creating prosthetic hands through different materials by identifying the problem, what's the problem, planning solution, making a model, and testing the prosthetic hands. And at the end of the uh, lesson plan, the students will reflect, and if they needed to redesign their prosthetic hands. So it is not also focused on engineering design process. It also focused on AI, ELA, which Beth will talk about, and also science.
All right, my name is Beth Troyer, and I'm from Cookeville, Tennessee. And the group that I worked with over the summer chose the Wild Robot to do our project on. Um, the students will read the novel, Change. There's a picture of the robot that we kind of talked about. Change. The fifth grade lesson plan highlights include using this as a 90-minute block scheduling. The book can be read in about 6 class periods with activities for each day. All 5 E's of the lesson elements were covered in this, and there's a lot of science and social studies, science and math that can be added to it. Change. The first standard that is covered that I added to was landforms, climate, and ecosystems. The students research in groups landforms, different types of camouflage that Roz could have used to disguise found in each of these ecosystems. This activity includes research, writing, and illustrations. Change. The second standard that was a ELA science standard both includes independent relationships and ecosystems, specifically food webs. This is a lesson that is very hands-on. It gets the students out of their seats and they go outside with picture cards and they make a food web and they see who eats who in the food web. Very, very easy for them to see. Change. The next standard covers space. Chapter 41 ties in very nicely to lots of science vocabulary. This lab allows the students to see using toilet paper squares and images of planets, how far the distance is between them, how far they are from the sun, and how they get smaller and colder the farther they go from the sun. Very hands-on, very easy to see. Change. This novel lends itself to many projects, including constructed response activities, writing, art, group STEM projects as culminating activities. The last day of the ELA plans includes a list of these for teachers to choose from. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Warren Palmer II, and I am a fifth and sixth grade science teacher. Um, and I am here to share the science portion of the unit plan that I had the pleasure of creating with Kim Alvin DeLara and Beth Troyer. We are using the book The Wild Robot to connect computer science, ELA, and science for fifth grade scholars. So please follow me as I go through this portion of the unit plan as it relates to science. Also note that the Wild Robot is accessible in different forms, whether you are looking for a physical copy or audio version, you have access to the book. Okay. All right. So again, Kim Alvadelar, myself, and Beth Troyer work together to create this unit plan that will span over 12 days and will connect the book, The Wild Robot, with computer science, ELA, and science. And this is, again, for fifth grade scholars. As you can see here, our next generation science standards. Before you, there are 4 different science standards we will focus on, and they will cover a range of topics from food chain and food web, how energy flows throughout our ecosystem, to the engineering design process, as well as the solar system, just our universe, the sun, talking about its apparent brightness and different length and directions of the shadows and day and night and seasonal appearances. Okay. So those are the standards we'll focus on. And then our objectives. 2 main objectives that we'll focus on. One being students will be able to design and create prosthetic hands inspired by the Wild Robot through engineering design process and AI. Also, students will be able to retell the story and explain how the storyline relates to the ideas presented in the EDP and AI. Just a quick note, whenever you hear EDP, know we are talking about the engineering design process. And whenever you hear AI, we are talking about artificial intelligence. We also want to highlight the importance of connecting our students with real careers in the STEM field. Oftentimes students aren't pursuing these careers because they just don't know about them. They were never exposed to them. So as early as possible, we want to be able to expose them to STEM careers that they might take interest in and pursue when they become citizens and complete college or other technical forms of education. So some of those careers are 1, robotics engineer, AI research scientist, machine learning engineer, data scientist, cognitive systems engineer, human robot interaction action specialist, excuse me, and ethical AI consultant. So we'll look at several science activities that will occur between day 1 and day 12. The first couple of activities will actually occur on day 2 and will be matched up with the ELA lesson. You will see different time allotments for each of these activities. Just note that depending on how much time you have for each content area, you can adjust accordingly. Okay. So the first activity on day 2 will be character analysis by way of animals. So talking about direct characterization as well as indirect characterization. And you can see the graphic organized on your bottom left. And then on the right, bottom right, we will dive into a food web activity using a ball of yarn, as well as food web cards, in which students will ideally understand where the food web starts and where it ends. So understanding about the sun is the source of energy to producers such as plants who create their own food, to then the consumers of the plants, and then the consumers of those animals that consume the plants, and the decomposers who get the energy from eating the dead things, right? So just understanding how energy flows throughout the ecosystem will be what students will be exploring in the food web activity. Day 3, again, combining science and ELA, students will now explore the solar system, right, and the sun, and get a deeper understanding of what's happening as to why we have day and night, the change of seasons, um, why the sun appears to be the brightest star. Um, so they're doing activity. They'll also be able to view this YouTube video you see below, which is just under 6 minutes. We recommend that throughout the video that students are taking notes to keep them engaged, right? They can create some sort of graphic organizer, such as a T-chart, and label one side notice, label the other side wonder. Notice, they write down all the things they observe, right? It could be words, it could be phrases, full sentences, but also on the other side, which is wonders, they can write down any questions they have, anything they are unsure about, they want to know about. You may be able to answer the question, you may not be able to answer the question. This can also generate conversation amongst the students, um, where you can step back and hear how they have discourse with one another, but you also open up the door for them just to be able to think deeper and make connections again between science and ELA and back to the book, The Wild Robot. Then for days 7 through 12, you will explore the engineering design process. Each day, you will tackle a portion of the engineering design process, but first and foremost, starting with what the engineering design process is, what it's for, and that it always starts with identifying a problem. Below the initial bullet, you'll see there are 3 links, all resources for you to review and give you and your students ideas of how the prosthetic hand can look, because that's what the engineering design is going to be taught, using the idea of each student with a partner within a group building a prosthetic hand, learning how to work within a certain criteria and constraints. Criteria is being what you need to be successful, and constraints are your limitations, be it cost, be it materials used, how much materials can be used, being time also being a constraint, right? So just understanding how to take what you have and create something that will solve the problem you have and that you need to solve, okay? And so them building the prosthetic hand, they have some resources below to be able to review. They also have an additional source, which is sciencebuddies.org, that can also give you another idea and them another idea as how best to approach building their prosthetic hand using everyday materials. And at the end of this lesson, they will be scored, right? Different components, using a rubric. So but you should definitely provide the rubric at the beginning so that students can reflect and refer back to this rubric as their means of criteria to know if they're on the right track, to know how successful they'll be. So it's not a surprise. Oh, this is the score I received because I met this criteria. I lost points here because we did not clearly identify this part of the rubric. Okay. And then the last activity that students will take part in on day 8, which will also be a part of the EDP lesson will be the AI detective game. First and foremost, um, taking 10 to 15 minutes to break down, unpack what AI is. Not only that it stands for artificial intelligence, but also AI is how we as humans train computers to think and learn like us, right? They we train computers to collect data, to identify patterns, and to make decisions, right? And then we want you to dive deep into that a little bit more and talk about different examples, everyday examples that we see. We may not even make the connection to that. Oh, this is AI sourced. So such as Alexa and Siri, right? Giving us information, also playing music based on other songs we requested. Another example is photo tagging on social media, even within school when they utilize Khan Academy or Lexia or iExcel, right? It gives them questions and then it creates a plan for them to work on based on how well they perform. That's all a part of AI. So just helping them to see that we as humans power AI. We as humans give AI the ability to think and learn like us. And then they will take part in a detective game, which they work in small groups that each will receive a set of images and a list of clues related to those images, such as find an animal that can fly, find a fruit that is yellow. And once they have those clues, they will identify the correct images and place a sticker or token on them. And it's important that after this activity is done, that come back together as a whole group and reflect and ask students how they felt being AI detectives, and then bringing back into play how AI works, which is training computers to think and learn like humans, collecting data, identifying patterns, and making decisions. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you in terms of understanding how the unit plan should flow when it relates to science and ELA and computer science. And remember, everything you need in great detail are in the unit plan. Thank you for watching.